Rachel here. Welcome to my Slow TV Stitchery. Good morning everybody. As you see, I am still plodding on with this. I've had a slightly distracted week, so I haven't worked on it while you've not been looking, which I would normally try to do, especially with something like this, but we all know about the way life can sometimes get in the way a little bit there. So I shall just continue and hope that at some point soon I find out whether this is the stitch pattern that the piece wants, because so far I'm doing it and I like the stitch pattern. I'm just not terribly sure whether Tynemouth Priory likes the stitch pattern, because it's not talking to me at the moment. I'm used to that. I have some projects which talk incessantly, leave me in no doubt of what they desire, and others which give me the silent treatment. And sometimes they do both. Tynemouth Priory has been known to be talkative. Certainly leaving the time was extremely talkative once I got the idea. It kept expanding itself. It started off as being a fairly simple idea, I recall, and it got quite out of hand. This is what my software designer friends call feature creep, I think. And I'm sure they would be surprised to find that embroiderers suffer from it. No, that's wrong. I also haven't quite worked out how I will do the point where the river meets the shore. There will be something. But quite what form it will take is as yet unclear, as they say. We'll just have to wait and see. fact, if you're interested in ramifications in music, there are some very good strands on Radio 3. I particularly enjoy the early music show because early music is the thing that I enjoy the most. Generally speaking, people seem to say that their music tastes are further forward in time than their parents. I am the exception that proves the rule, because my father's favourite music was Beethoven string quartets and Schubert Lieder, and while I'm absolutely with him in enjoying both of those, I am an early music girl through and through. Around late Beethoven is about as far forward as I'm comfortable, and after that I start getting picky, and by the time you reach 1890 I am extremely picky, and after that I become impossible. You might have guessed that from the music that you occasionally hear wisping through the background. Might in fact be previous row which is wrong, but I think I'm coming to the conclusion that if I am struggling to find it, no one else is going to find it successfully when they're just looking at it. My grandmama used to say, no one's going to get off their horse to look at it. Although, thanks to the magic of the internet, I now know so many people who are interested in the mechanics of how we achieve our effects, that she would no longer be correct, because there are a lot of people who would certainly get off their bikes, if not their horses, to get a closer look at somebody else's embroidery. That's wrong too. So I've been looking at the colour distribution here and trying to make sure there's some sort of rhyme or reason to it. So I want a sense of changing colours in the water. If you look at water, more or less open water, there are always slight changes of colour with wind or current underneath, and so unless you're talking about a garden set at RHS Chelsea with the water dyed inky black to help produce the sense of depth, there are always flurries of colour change, and I was reminded of that because I went out and painted by the nearby marine lake a few days ago. If there's anywhere where bugs are going to get blown away, it's when you're walking around a marine lake. And it's one I used to know quite well, to the point that we knew which of the streets which ran down to it would produce a squall as you sailed past and which wouldn't. But don't know it quite that well anymore, but certainly know it well enough to know what to look out for and to recognise the effect when I saw it again. did see something I've never seen before though, which was something like a cross between a kite surf and a windsurfer, except it had a hydrofoil. So once there was enough wind over the sail, once there was enough power in the rig, it actually lifted out of the water on the hydrofoil. So none of the board was touching the water. So much less drag, of course. It looked a fairly hairy beast to ride. Of course, part of the problem is getting up on the hydrofoil, and once there, staying balanced is obviously not easy because the person on it kept on falling off. Although it wasn't perfect windsurfing weather, and there were a few windsurfers out, but but this strange foiling kite surfing sort of thing wasn't a kite surfer, because he was holding on to the boom and not to strings. But it wasn't a windsurfer's shape of sail, so I have no idea what it was. And when I decided that I was getting chilly and I wanted to come in, go home, have a cup of tea, the person in question was still merrily zipping up and down the lake and falling off at each end, so I couldn't ask. But there was a nice gentleman came and made encouraging noises about my painting from a suitably socially respectful distance, which was very nice of him. I think I may be beginning to have a bit more confidence in this. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed following along. Happy stitching!